really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, my friends, we've been down this path before. We were going down this path, if you remember, this time back in the last series, I should say here, against the Cavaliers. And that path was this team with a road opportunity to close out. And while you have chances, I always take, for example, the best chance being the one that's in front of you. Taking care of business. That, to me, is the best chance. Thus, to me, tonight is just a tremendous opportunity to salt this away in preparation for OKC. Now, I am not going to put the proverbial cart before the horse at all here. But what I am telling you, there is something to be said about announcing your presence with authority. And this basically is similar dialogue as I had going back to the last series. I mean, there's not much else to say. I've made light of the fact that if you have to go to Game 6, it's going to be back here on Saturday night. I can't go, thus I cannot restore order, or at least I can't go as of right now because I would have to go oppo with the JMV takeover, and I love the JMV takeover, but man, I don't want to do that. I want to be there. I want to be there and soak it up. This, my friends, would be the golden era, and these are the types of things that happen. That's why they're golden. That's why you remember the golden era of the Colts. That's why you remember the great moments of that era of the Colts more than you do any other. We don't often remember now, do we, or recollect about the times in which the Colts didn't get it done. It's always about the time they did. That's what a golden era does. And it's these types of moments to where you don't bank on having home court and prolonging the series. What you do is you put a team away, and you do that whenever possible, and the possibility looms in their building later on tonight. Can you imagine the statement they made against the Cavaliers? You go games 1 and 2, and you flounder in game 3, and you haul ass in game 4, and then you dictate terms in Game 5 and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Does that sound similar? That is the way to go out with this. That is the way to move forward. And that is the way to enter yourself for the first time in 25 years in the NBA Finals, which is absolutely incredible. Against, I'm sure, what will be a heavily favored Oklahoma City team, and they are talented. You saw that. Hey, they didn't want to leave any doubt last night, did they? Did you take a look at that? Really, from the opening tip, that thing was done. You kind of wondered at the end of the first, why you're even going through the motions on this thing right now. It's over. Done. Tag them. And that's what you want to do later on tonight. Because that's how you have a golden era. Those are moments that become legendary. And we all know this to be true. The moments inside Madison Square Garden for a road player, a road team to overcome in this capacity. And similarities can be made to Game 7 of a year ago, except for the whole clown show from ESPN that led up to it. The whole cheerleading act. And we know how everybody else is. I mean, everybody else now is just getting him on board. Yeah, I know. A lot of people have sent me Mike Greenberg's dialogue this morning on whatever that awful show is called. That is going to be the lone drawback of moving on to the NBA Finals, is having ESPN shoved down your throat with seriously all of them. For one, how do you go from Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson and Mike Breen to what you have now? And then you have the whole pregame, halftime, postgame show. Come on. TNT is fantastically better. But these are moments in which those that are better, and I believe we're talking about the Pacers in that capacity, that they take that thing up a notch. This is their opportunity. Not to get blown out and to rely upon coming back home on Saturday night and knowing that they are unbeaten in games after they're blown out. Now, the best time to take advantage is the time being right now. A little bit more about Karl Anthony Towns, I'm sure, as we move closer to the 6 o'clock hour. Pat Boylan's got us at the bottom of the hour. He is the pre and the in-game and the halftime, and he also does a little bit of post-game sometimes with Eddie White as well. Pat Boylan's going to join us, also the voice of the Fever who lose last night. We'll get into that a little bit more. That first opportunity without Caitlin Clark did not go well. And you can certainly tell that there's no Caitlin Clark around. You have a team that wants to run and a team that seemingly cannot run, built the way that it is without Caitlin Clark, and that is certainly problematic. You hope you can limp along and tread water until. And listen, you got to be able to sustain there too, because this golden era just does not stop here with the Pacers. We're also talking about the Fever in that capacity. That's how you get it with Pacer Sports and Entertainment. Yeah, for those of you that are asking too, I did see John Mellencamp and his post a little bit earlier today criticizing what took place with Pat McAfee in his in-game fourth quarter hype in game number 4 the other night. I think, listen, and I have recently, and I like him a great deal, I have recently been introduced and hung out with Hud, his son, who's got his own bourbon, own whiskey, and I do like him a great deal. But I would just suggest this. There is so much other stuff happening. I think you can go ahead and there was nothing wrong with it. And it's not me just jumping on board with something that Pat McAfee did. It was a wrestling-esque promo for the home team. And it was a counter to Who's in the House at Madison Square Garden. It wasn't pointing your finger at Ben Stiller or Bob Dylan Jr. and saying, hey, you SOBs. It was fun-loving. And see, that's the problem that John Mellencamp struggles with sometime. He is about as fun-loving as a stick of gum. I think the point was missed. Again, it was fun. Stiller even reached out to McAfee, I think, and invited him to the game. I don't know. That's not what I thought about. I didn't feel like, well, there's no Hoosier hospitality with what just happened right there. I think that's something, like in a world in which we have to be critical of everything. You can't go anywhere, anyhow, anytime, and have something, you can't post something fun and have a number of jackasses decide to go ahead and be critical of it for whatever reason, who knows? And the reason we do know is because numbnuts will go numbnuttery all the time because they want to inject just how miserable they are to the rest of the world. I don't want to be infected by their misery. I think everybody in there knew what it was. It didn't fire up people to where they wanted to go throw down with Ben Stiller. I thought that it was just a funny counter to what the Knicks do at Madison Square Garden with Who's in the House. And then they put a camera on the celebrities and the celebrities wave. Hey, there's Sting. Hey, there's John Hamm. Hey, there's Ben Stiller. Hello. There's Larry David. How are you doing? I thought that was just the counter, and what you did is you handed the microphone to a guy that does a great deal of wrestling stuff, and that was a wrestling promo. So I think maybe just having a little bit of a lighter heart on this should probably prevail. But that's just me. Yeah, I'm not here to infect the rest of the world with misery. Good Lord Almighty. Fun-loving, and that was about it. So, yes, thank you for pointing that out with the Mellencamp post a little bit earlier today. You got the Pacers, you got the Knicks coming up in Game 5 later on tonight. I mentioned Pat Boylan's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk about that, too. And who else is on the show here, James, today? What do we got? You said earlier, and I forgot already.
We got Mike Chappell at 5.
Oh, yeah, today is Thursday, so Chappell at 5 as well. There you go, James. Well done. And other than that, we got a lot of conversation on what the Pacers need to do, and I think it's really outlined about as well as you can. They play their pace, they're going to win. They play at their ability and their pace, they're going to win. And we'll see how Karl Anthony Towns looks once he gets out there. I'm assuming he gets out there. Listed as questionable yesterday. I haven't seen anything as of right now. But it's funny. I want to double back to what they said on Get Up, and this was the typical Mike Greenberg jackassery right here, that Jalen Brunson is the one that has picked up and dragged this Knicks team to the 5th game of the Eastern Conference Finals, because the Knicks, and he actually won over Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart and the rest of that group as being pretty good players. But now they're talented players. I don't know if I would put Anthony Towns in that category, because when he's been turned loose and allowed to play, normally he has turned himself loose and has scored and has played well. Is Brunson really good? Yes. But this is not your little engine that could New York's Knicks team. It was at full strength. And remember, after last year when it was injured, Anunoby was back. Anunoby was out oftentimes a year ago. Brunson was hurt for that final game. Karl Anthony Towns was still in Minnesota. They had Isaiah Hartenstein instead. They went out and they targeted Bridges and brought him in a blockbuster. They went out and targeted Karl Anthony Towns and really probably gave up somebody in that deal in Dante DiVincenzo that I think we would all understand that would work really well with them right now. Besides Brunson, their most legitimate three-point threat is Karl Anthony Towns. So I think you miss DiVincenzo. Julius Randle didn't play a year ago. But the point I'm trying to make is they went out by all means necessary and decided to bring in a group that they felt could be a contender for not just the East Finals, but for the NBA. And that's where they are. This is not one guy dragging this group. This is a group that they put together. This is a healthy group. So when you hear that, I know normally your first thought is, well, here we go again. It's the little engine that could, and the Pacers are barely getting over on a beaten-up team, a team that's not so good. They're lucky, they're fortunate, all that. Yeah, there is no luck. You make that luck. If there is any good fortune whatsoever, you create it with your level of play. And that's what the Pacers have done. This is going to be begrudgingly. But once everybody, if indeed that is going to be the case, is going to be OKC and the Pacers, when everybody sees these teams going 10-plus deep and playing at a fast pace, there are going to be other teams that are going to say, you know what? I like that style right there. What direction are we going in right now? Do we need these old scrub-o-matic, high-dollar, former elite-level players and put them all together in one spot, 3 of them, and have them fail miserably like Phoenix? Or do we need to go out and create a team, bring in parts that work with one another, have cohesion on the floor and off, create a level of unselfishness that oftentimes is not seen in the NBA? How do we do that? And I maintain that one of these days, very soon, that's what you're going to get. I know that the star mentality is always going to prevail. But we are now seeing how a well-balanced team is even better than that. Having guys you feel confident in getting minutes, major minutes in crucial times that others, if you're talking about player number 8 or player number 9 on the depth chart, you would not feel as reasonably confident about. I think this is a changing of the guard. I think with this series that hopefully you end up seeing, choosing my words wisely right here, I think all of a sudden you're going to see a not-so-subtle change in other teams because the one thing we know with any team, and certainly professional teams, is they do what? They copycat. You see what somebody else is doing. Now, this takes a little bit of time and certainly a lot of ingenuity and a lot of craftsmanship and probably a little bit of good fortune too. Seems like you have to have something like the Pacers, one of, to me, the biggest reasons, actually two of the biggest reasons while they're here. One is a guy that fell to the second round in Andrew Nembhard, who may often certainly go in the top 12 of any other draft right now. And then the incredible evolution on both ends of the floor of Aaron Nesmith, a former first-round selection in Boston that could not find any clock, could not get out of his warm-ups. Was traded here, and he is an absolute monster on both ends. And what is he? He's a part of a team. He's important. It may not be in terms of scoring, but his level of importance is there. Actually, you heard the other night, and I thought this was rightly so, when Stan Van Gundy went on and on about Aaron Nesmith getting over screens. I know that bores a lot of you, but it was so incredibly accurate. That always fouls up the works. I mean, always. You don't see a lot of guys doing it on any level. It's just kind of handing somebody off, calling out a screen and switching. My man gets over and fouls up the works. That is important for a team still evolving defensively. Another aspect you'll look for coming up later on tonight as well. You know, we mentioned this yesterday. I could not tell you enough just how incredible Tyrese Halliburton was. When I've been inside a building, that is the best individual performance I have ever seen live. And still, to this day, incredibly impressive, the numbers he put up. And you think about what he means to this team, and that's where everybody constantly having the not an elite player debate. You know that these guys just don't know. They just don't understand. They just don't watch. If you watch this Pacer team, you know how important he is for everything to get done. I just thought the major difference was the other night, and I would love to see that in Madison Square Garden later on this evening, was the major focus on getting his own. And I mentioned this to Eddie Gill yesterday. I thought that the Knicks were a little sideswiped by the fact that Tyrese Halliburton was so aggressive on hunting his own shot. There were a couple of different times he was left wide ass open, and that should never happen. As impressive a performance as I've ever seen. Now, I don't know if you're going to get one like that coming up later on tonight, but the focus on making sure you get your own, while also making sure everybody else gets unleashed, which is his job number one. Love to see that coming up later on tonight as well. And let's just say if Towns plays, I have not seen James. Have you looked up Karl Anthony Towns? Anybody done anything on that yet? Can you look it up really quick? Thank you. Got to make him work a little bit. Especially if you know out there he comes in dinged up in the fashion in which he is dinged up. Got to make him work a little bit of major importance. Hopefully that can be done. All right, we got that for you, 239-1070. The email address is jmv at 1075thefan.com. I mentioned that the Fever last night, a loser to Washington, and it is going to be a bit of a slog up until the return of Caitlin Clark. You know, much like Tyrese Halliburton, she also is the straw that stirs, but there is so much else that goes on around her. It's the pace of play and everything else you can see. Subpar, to say the least, when she's not a part of it, as we witnessed last night, was it not? So we get that with Pat Boylan coming up at the bottom of the hour, and just a lot more on the Pacers here. There is zero doubt we're going to be locked into that bad boy over the course of the afternoon. So hopefully you're going to be a part of it. Hopefully you're going to join us. 239-1070. Email address, JMV at 1075thefan.com. Inside the AAA Membership Lounge. That is via YouTube Live. I want you guys to drop in all afternoon long. We will talk with you, your thoughts on getting it done in game number 5. And not waiting until Saturday. Not only that, but for selfish reasons and other reasons. Just not waiting. Yeah, I know. I talked about it a little bit earlier. If you're Mellencamp, just be a little lighthearted. Are you allowed to have a little? You don't have to be crotchety 24/7, 365. Get you a smoke or something like that and chill out a little bit. At least that's what I witnessed when I was there watching it. All right, we'll cover that too. Anything else you guys want to hit? The Colts, OTAs, Mike Chappell coming up in the 5 o'clock hour yesterday. And you know this is going to be every single moment. Quarterback battles. And I got it from everybody. I got it that, and I know you're saying, well, this is not real. This is just practice, whatever, 7-on-7, blah, blah, blah. But you get a lot of it's the same old for both. So certainly be prepared for that. All right, quick one. We shall come back. I know I need to think about if there is a Game 6. I'm not going to think about a Game 6 until actually it takes place. But I do have to find a way to get there. I agree with you on that. I can't be left. I don't know what I'd do with the JMV takeover. And, I can't put it on autopilot, and nobody else can do it for me because nobody else can do it. Now, I'm sure it's on that voice track. I'm not going to embarrass the world and voice track it. Good God Almighty. Nothing more half-assed than that. We'll just do it on Friday night, I guess, if worse comes to worse. I think we would have to do it. We'll just have a little marathon 9-hour shift. I think I can do it. All right, other than that, we'll get you in here. We'll get Pat Boylan at the bottom of the hour. Chappell is going to swing on in here as well. I don't want you guys going anywhere, so sit tight. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Did you know you can win a 2-seater ride with AAA? Check it out, AAA.com right now for the way that you can win. And a shout-out to my pit crew, because I don't know what the hell happened while I was restoring order the other night. I think I also ran over some crap, and I got a flat tire. I don't know what crap it was. I don't know if I ran over a samurai sword or what, but it was not any good. I come out of my house the next day, flat ass. Oh, what am I going to do? Go across the road, grab the truck of Jeff Watson, call my pit crew, AAA.com, and my man comes over, lickety, slaps a couple of tires on the front, Tundra's off and running, $371K. My pit crew works. Become a AAA member today. Also, check out how you can be inside that 2-seater just like Tom Brady was this past weekend. Stream the app, HD Radio. We're not going anywhere. Join us on this busy Thursday. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Not Nam. This is bowling. There are rules.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Game 5 later on tonight. Pacers' opportunity on the road to close it out. Move on to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2000. I do love this. I love all the former players coming back, as we saw. I saw Amp Harris in the building up on 5 a little bit earlier, and we were having a conversation. There are a lot of dudes I saw the other night during Game 4 that I would love to get back on this show. I have not heard from Danny Granger in forever and a day, but saw him the other night. That is a cool aspect of this all. And hopefully the Pacers can get themselves a nice little close coming up later on tonight and prepare for OKC. But it does take one more, and I'm assuming the Knicks are up and going to be feisty for game number 5 at Madison Square Garden tonight at 8 o'clock. That discussion and the Fever and more, the voice of the Fever, and a part of the Pacer Radio Network, Pat Boylan joins us. Hello, Pat. How are you?
Hi, John. Doing well. Better now.
So you think – are the Pacers going to be able to, and is it coming down to them, again, enforcing what they do at their best, at their finest, to close this deal? And then how similar can these circumstances be to what we saw in that last series against the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference semifinals?
Well, I think you're hoping that they're as close as possible. You know, if the Pacers were to win tonight, actually all 3 series have gone the same way. But, of course, the big difference being you had home court advantage in the Milwaukee series. You didn't in Cleveland. You didn't tonight. And I think, you know, there's kind of just a mindset about this team where I think a lot of NBA teams, for example, when they win game 1 on the road, they relax just a little bit. And the home team with their backs against the wall respond by winning game 2. Well, in the first series against Cleveland, or the second series against Cleveland, the Pacers didn't do that. They won game 2, and game 2 against the Knicks, they didn't do that. They also stole game 2, and I think it's that similar kind of mindset that it takes to win game 5. You know, I remember going into that Cleveland game 5 thinking that you're hopeful, but you're taking on a really good team that you've already beaten twice in their building. Assuredly, they aren't going to go 3-0 against Cleveland. I mean, that was a team that I think lost maybe 4 or 6 home games all year. And not to say that the Pacers couldn't do it, but, I mean, that just doesn't really happen in the playoffs. So you're kind of in a similar situation here tonight. Going 3-0 in the Garden would be kind of hard to believe if they could do it, but they won Game 7 in the Garden, which is difficult last year. They won Games 1 and 2, which is difficult in the Garden. So they've already – accomplish these tough victories under difficult circumstances. So I certainly think it's trying to, impose your style still. I thought the Pacers did a great job of that in Game 4, but really if you look at the whole series, it's come down to the last couple of minutes and how the team with the lead has protected that lead. And if there was one thing I was confident going into the series is that we're going to get a bunch of close games. We've gotten 4 close games. And I think, to be honest, I think that's advantage Pacers here because when you're up 3-1 in the series, if you have close games the rest of the way, I think you feel confident you can pull one of them out. But when you're the road team in a series like this, even when you get up 3-1, you're never out of the woods till you get across the finish line because the Pacers scenario here is they must win their one home game or they must win a game at Madison Square Garden. Both of those things very doable, but the series feels very different when you're the road team in this situation versus when the Pacers were up 3-1 against the Bucks. I think you looked at it and you said, it's not over, but you have 2 chances at home to close this thing out, plus a road game. It's very different when you're the road team. So you're in a great spot, but still feels like a lot of work to do.
The Tyrese Halliburton game in game number 4, at least from my eyeballs being in the actual building, was the best playoff performance I have seen in sports live like that. Where was it for you?
Yeah, right up there. I mean, there was a point where I was asking our stats service if any Pacers player had ever had a triple-double in the first half before because he was right on the verge of doing that. He was 1 rebound away when we hit halftime, and then I think there was a stat correction that pulled him down from 9 to 8 rebounds, and then, of course, he got well over the double-digit rebound total. I thought it was actually really noteworthy because he's been really good over the course of his young career, and especially in the playoffs. When he does not play well, you typically hear something along the lines of him addressing that, saying, I didn't play well, I've got to be better next game, and I will be better next game. It's his go-to line, and almost every single time it becomes fact. He does play much better in that next game. And what I thought was interesting was Game 3 for him the best he's played in the playoffs? Of course not, but I didn't think he had a poor game by any stretch of the imagination. I thought the Pacers' issues were in other areas. Now, second half, they probably got into the Knicks style. They only scored 42 points. So there are certainly things you can pinpoint, but I thought it was noteworthy because Tyrese Halliburton pretty much took blame for something that, in my opinion, he certainly didn't need to. This wasn't a game where he had, 6 points and 3 assists or something. He played well statistically, just not up to his capabilities, and I think he felt like part of that is the reason why the Pacers offense slowed down in the second half. So to take the onus, that responsibility when he didn't have to, in my opinion, I thought was noteworthy, and then to follow it up with the performance that he had, it was massive. And even as good as he played, it still came down to the last couple of minutes, and I think that just shows how evenly matched these two teams are. I mean, they just seem destined for a final 2 minutes with the game within a couple of possessions. But if the Pacers can continue, the other one that sticks out to me, and I know you said seeing live, but it would just be his performance in Game 7 at the Garden last year, statistically not on par with what he did in Game 4. But in the Garden, the Pacers had the best offensive night in NBA playoff history, and Halliburton, of course, was orchestrating all of that. So he certainly had a penchant in his young career for stepping up in the big moments, and I think if the Pacers are able to get that final win to advance to the NBA Finals, you're going to look back at that Game 4 as one of the great – I think you will look at it regardless, but hopefully you're talking about it in the context of moving on to the NBA Finals, one of the great all-time performances in franchise history and in recent NBA history.
So Pat Boylan on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So I'm assuming he is going to play, listed as questionable yesterday. We shall see as the afternoon grows longer here. But the effect that situation injury-wise had on Karl Anthony Towns, you expect anything tonight, or do you expect him at full strength, or at least as much full strength as he can go and be ready to go?
Yeah, I expect him to be out there. And, to be honest with you, I was in Baltimore yesterday with the Fever. So I'm not following this series personally when it's on the road. I'm not there doing the game from where you are in the studio, and I'm also covering the Fever at the same time. So I'm sure there's somebody in New York with a better feel for that. I can't imagine he doesn't go in a game like this. I mean, he's so important to what they do and offensively. And I mean, it was Towns. You could make a case that without Towns, this series is a sweep, because if he didn't do what he did in Game number 3, the Pacers potentially win that game. Now, the circumstances going into 4 are very different, so you have to be a little careful with that. He's a fascinating player. I've said it on so many radio shows that I can't even remember where I said it and where I haven't. But to me, he's the X factor in the whole series, because when he's on offensively, and if the Pacers are struggling to stop him offensively, well, look no further than what he did in Game number 3. But if you're able to attack him, if you're able to put him in action, when the Pacers are on the offensive end, he's not a good defender. He's not a good rim protector, and he can be a liability out there. And when you have him and Brunson, who I think that's true of for both of those guys, great offensive players that have the ability, to go possession after possession after possession getting buckets. Well, the flip side of that is if you can make them be problematic on the other end, then I think you've seen real advantages for the Pacers. And in this series, I'm not a big plus-minus per game guy, but I think it's kind of been a telling stat, because there's a couple of games where Towns and Brunson have been really in the negative, and there's been a couple of games where they've been much more positive. So I think Towns is kind of the guy, and I say this meaning how the Pacers handle him, how they defend him, how they attack him, might be the biggest swing player in this series, because he has the ability to lift New York substantially on the offensive end, but the Pacers have the ability to really make him a problem on the defensive end. And I would say overall, I'd give the Pacers a pretty good grade there in how they've done, but he showed what he's capable of in Game number 3. I would be really surprised if he didn't go. I mean, this time of the year, you pretty much see everybody go unless they've got an injury. That would be like a month-long thing if it was the regular season. But we will see, and I think you continue to kind of circle him or spotlight him and how he's playing as a big, big, big key tonight, as you have, I think, the whole series.
So Pat Boylan's with us, the voice of the Fever. You're a bike guy, right? You ride a bike in here?
I have. I wouldn't call myself a bike guy.
What kind of bike? What kind of bike do you have?
A bicycle, to be clear.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, bicycle.
Yeah. I'd have to walk out in my garage to check, which would tell you that I'm not a bike guy.
So you
but
don't
I do
know.
have a bike, and I do like to ride it.
Let's just say, for example, I think one of the big names in the bike industry is Cannondale, right? Have you heard of that?
I think so.
So with Caitlin Clark out for this team right now, is it like riding a Cannondale to a Huffy?
Oh, you're a little over my head on the bike comparison.
Sorry about that. I thought you were a bike guy because I thought you rode one in here.
I don't. I don't ride one in there. But
Huffy would be one. Huffy, let's just say, for example, I didn't buy a Cannondale at 3D back in the day. So, with my man Ben Danner's place back in the day. So, no Cannondale 3D, but they had many a Huffy right here. So, is that, especially with the offensive push that the Fever want, it did not seem that it was nearly what is going to be necessary for this group. And how difficult is it going to be to survive these games in which she's not out there?
Well, first of all, I'm kind of wondering what other false information Eddie Garrison has given you about me, but we'll discuss that.
I thought I passed you in the hallway the other day and you rode your bike in here.
No, I was.
Well, who the hell's the bike rider around here then?
It beats me. I live near the Monon. I have to take the bike on the Monon.
Maybe it's Matt Bear. I don't know. Maybe Matt Bear's across the hall. So.
Yeah. But to your question and to your point, it just really strikes me how many moving pieces there are right now. You went into the season, and of course, you were excited about the amount of talent that this roster had, and a lot of it, how much they had acquired in the offseason. But it's a puzzle piece that has to fit together and is going to take a little time regardless before we even talk about the Caitlin Clark injury. I mean, you're talking about 3 to 4 players in the rotation that were not in the rotation last year. So everybody's got to figure each other out, how they all work together and how it all fits in the most efficient way. And you got 4 games into that process, and then now you have, a massive change again with Caitlin Clark going down with this quad injury. The good news is it's not something that should keep her out for an extended period of time. And I do really think there's an importance right now on being cautious with this. You can certainly survive a couple of weeks plus without Caitlin Clark in May, early June. You can't survive that, or it would be really hard to survive that in September, October. So I think there's a very important big picture here. The other aspect at play, which I think is important to note, is just a few years ago, 2022, the WNBA season was 36 games. We're playing a 44-game season now. So right now, there's still 3 more games left in this season, 39, than there even was in the entire season just a few years ago. So that old adage, Lynn Dunn always used to say, the NBA is a marathon, the WNBA is a sprint. It's probably still true to a degree, but a lot less true than when the league had 32, 34, 36 games per season. They're now up to 44. But you've got all these, moving puzzle pieces, and then all of a sudden the puzzle has changed on you just as you were, starting to maybe figure some of it out. I still remain fairly bullish on the next couple of weeks for a couple of reasons. It is certainly not their most difficult stretch of schedule. Kelsey Mitchell has been an all-star pre-Caitlin Clark. Aaliyah Boston has been an all-star pre-Caitlin Clark. And while, you maybe don't have DeWanna Bonner in her prime and Natasha Howard is in her mid-30s, they're still very capable players. So I think the roster, if you didn't have Caitlin Clark on the roster, I think the group that they have is still a playoff-capable team. But you lose so much of your margin for error, and she's so much like Tyrese Halliburton on the Pacers in that everything that she does makes every other person on the floor better. I mean, that's Tyrese Halliburton's biggest superpower, and it's Caitlin Clark's biggest superpower. And so when you take that away, life's a little harder for Kelsey Mitchell, and life's a little harder for Aaliyah Boston, and life's a little harder for everybody else. And so I think it's figuring out in the short term here how all of this works. But you still have dynamic playmakers in Mitchell and in Aaliyah Boston. But if you look at the game last night in Baltimore against DC, a little confusing there. They played the game in Baltimore despite taking on the Washington Mystics. Mitchell didn't have a good shooting night, and the Fever struggled to get Boston the ball enough. She was efficient when she got it, but they struggled to get her the type of looks that she wants. So, you've got a really, really smart head coach here, and you've got some talented players. And I think over the next few days, you're hopefully looking for signs that it's clicking a little bit more in terms of what Mitchell and Boston are capable of. Because to me, those are the two that you're looking at that need to really, do a lot of the heavy lifting throughout all of this. But I still think you've got a roster that's really good without Clark. You need Clark to have any ambitions of contending this year. But in the short term, I think they're going to be okay, but we'll see. There's another game tomorrow where you'll get another look at it. The Fever are hosting the Connecticut Sun, who haven't won a game this year. So that would be the type of game where you'd like for some things, I think, start to fit into place.
You better have yourself a kick-ass night, biker, okay? Now you got to become a biker, even if you're not. All right?
You know what? I'll do it for you.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. So you're going to be in here before I exit?
I will be in there. I'm going to drive today. I'm not quite ready to, make this lifestyle change in just a few hours.
I feel compelled to change seats when you get in here because much like I don't want to sit down after somebody else's hot ass, I know you probably wouldn't want to sit down after mine. So,
well,
yes.
There's
etiquette.
Move the chairs around.
Well, I mean, we got to find one that actually isn't broken. So that's the other thing too.
I don't think you're finding that in that.
This middle one that looks like I'd like to tell Jeff Rickard, who's also our boss here, and on the morning show, the middle one looks like a catapult. So I don't know if somebody's trying to tell him. I mean, it looks weird. It looks like they're about ready to launch him out into the hallway or something.
Well, the one you're in, I think, no longer goes down.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I am but an appreciative.
I should not take you down the road of my juvenile takes here and humor. I apologize, buddy. Thank you very much.
I am but an appreciative visitor of your all regular.
See, here's the anticipation. I had to hit it that way because the anticipation of people were expecting it. I think everybody was expecting that 12-year-old juvenile take, but you. I apologize right there because you're way too mature.
I try to play mature on radio and TV.
You're a good dude, brother. I appreciate you. We'll see you again soon.
Likewise, John. Thank you.
So Pat Boylan on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I can't help myself, and I'll never be able to help myself. And if you have a problem with it, then you'll probably have to smooch because I don't know what to tell you at this point. Because I'm all grown up, and that's how I act. Quick one will come back. Is it me and everybody on hold coming up after this? And we're locked and loaded right here. We go full 239-1070 on the other side until Mike Chappell drops in here in the 5 o'clock hour. So my advice, if you're on hold, stay. If you're not, get your ass in line at 239-1070 with 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good. So what's the problem?
I don't know.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I got a tip time for you tonight. Pacers on the road with a close opportunity at 8 o'clock tonight. Pacers Radio begins at 7:30. Pat Boylan, we just spoke to Pat, podcast 1075thefan.com. Pat is at the helm along with Mark and Eddie. Eddie was on the show yesterday. And again, a quick shout yesterday to our friends over at the Indy 11. That was Joe and Greg Rakestraw. Always awesome to us at Carroll Stadium yesterday. I want to thank them for that, too. And remember, inside the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live, AAA.com, sign up for that two-seater ride because it is badass. And you can get it done right now at AAA.com, that two-seater ride. I have not done it before. I feel bad. This is one of the major regrets, and I try to go through life without any regrets. One of the major regrets I have is one time I couldn't be there on time, so I had to turn it down, a two-seater ride with Mario Andretti at the wheel. So, yes, I really felt as if my own ass needed kicked out of that. Great time, though. AAA.com. Check it out now and sign up. Give me Todd, James, before the top of the hour, then we'll reset coming up after 4. Hello, Todd. How are you?
Hey, John. Good afternoon. How are you?
Todd, fantastic. I've not seen you out in a while. Where you been?
Well, I'm retired now, John, so I do a lot of other stuff. So I try to get around a little bit.
Outstanding, buddy.
Yeah. So you get it. Hey, quick question. You think that – so – I don't know what Towns' health is going to be. I'm not sure the Pacers aren't better off with Towns on the floor.
But because of his defense? Yeah, I mean, the Knicks, however, so need his offense. So that's the other thing. So
right, but if he's hobbled, I think you attack him. I mean,
there's no doubt about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you attack.
See, here's the problem I have with that too, and you're absolutely right, Todd. The problem I have is, he had 5 fouls. And they didn't get the job done in game number 3, which was disappointing. Brunson had 5 fouls, didn't get the job done. So sometimes you try to attack, and it still doesn't work, and it still backfires. But, yes, I get where you're going with that. If he is gimpy, limping around, that is absolutely somebody you're going to go straight at, regardless of who he's trying to check.
And that said, does Thibodeau go with the 5 he's gone with the last 2 games? Robinson was pretty invisible the second half. It was mainly hard on the floor, so it was their traditional lineup the majority of the game. So I don't really know that it matters who starts at the end of the day. That gives Bradley more minutes when Robinson leaves the floor. It seems like to me, or is on the floor. That seems to be the equation a little bit.
Yeah. What else? You got, my good man?
So, and I put this out yesterday, and I was kind of curious about it, and I actually did a little research if Google is worth anything, and it may not be. But I was kind of disappointed because, in theory, whenever this series ends, TNT is done with the product, and I think, and as you mentioned actually earlier, it's such a superior production to ESPN studio on games and.
Hey, go ahead. Hey, Todd, I'm sorry about that. If you want to phone back in and finish that, Todd just faded out right there. Fade. I just faded too. What the hell? Is that me right here? Hold on. No, that's my microphone. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's weird. I kind of lost it. My headset lost it, but the microphone was still on. Todd, we'll get you back. I've got a 4 o'clock hour where we want to get some calls in regarding Game 5. Let's do that because I am skeptical as to whether or not I can make it for a Game 6 downtown on Saturday night. So all hands on deck to put this bad boy to bed later on tonight so we don't have to tempt fate on Saturday. Seriously, when you can, you do it. We'll talk about it 4 o'clock hour. Don't go anywhere. That's next.
The Ride with JMV.
And the beat goes on, yeah. And the beat goes on.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, Luke writes this, 2-seater ride, 4 laps, get the experience. Absolutely outstanding. I got it as a gift from my dad, and he immediately turned around and did that for me. Shout out to Luke right there. I turned down the Mario Andretti one years ago, and that was not cool. I did want to give a birthday shout out. I'm going to go ahead and say one of our, because I know a lot of people would agree with me on this. A lot of Reds fans. One of my favorite players of all time, in this case, one of our favorite players of all time, is celebrating a birthday today. Eric Davis. That time was awesome, yet it did not last long enough, did it? I mean, those late 80s, into Wire to Wire in 1990, maybe the greatest poster of all time, 44 Magnum. I don't even know if that would work today. Would that poster work today? So if you remember that poster, Eric Davis, 44 Magnum, he is in like an office, dressed up in a suit, looking good. Kind of looks like Nino Brown a little bit from New Jack City. He's also got his Nike red cleats on with stirrups, which I still think are badass. And on this desk is a revolver loaded with baseballs. A big revolver, not just like a handgun, but a big revolver. 44 Magnum. And that goes down in history as one of the greatest posters of all time right there that I'm proud to have. But happy birthday to Eric Davis. He goes down as one of our all-time favorites. BT writes this, JMV, watch New York tonight. They'll introduce Indiana celebs. They'll have a tire and a stalk of corn outside. Yeah, they normally go around the house or who's in the house and show the celebrities. Well, I thought that was a playoff of things the other night, and then McAfee did a wrestling kind of promo with it, a little fourth quarter speech. And one of the folks there, John Mellencamp, decided to take that to task a little bit earlier today. I mean, there are some moments where do we just have to piss and moan about everything? Do we? I think it says, quote, Hoosier hospitality. I was embarrassed when somebody under whose direction I don't know. I think it was, whose direction was it? Who directed Pat to do that? Under whose direction I don't know. Called out some of the people who had made the trip from New York to support their team and in turn support our team. I got news for you. There was no support coming from Chalamet nor Stiller for the Pacers. The audience booed these people. I'd say that was not Hoosier hospitality. One could only say it's poor sportsmanship. I was not proud to be a Hoosier, and I've lived here my entire life. On behalf of most Hoosiers, I would like to apologize to for our poor behavior. I'm sure the Pacers had nothing to do with this smackdown. I just thought it was funny, and I thought it was like a playoff of around the house. I guess I didn't think of it as poor sportsmanship or a lack of Hoosier hospitality. Tell Cougar to go suck on another chili dog, yeah. I just think some things in the world really aren't, and probably I'm giving it too much credit here and talking about it. And the same thing goes for some of the morning shows that they have on ESPN that I'll take to task as well. I don't get the outrage. Like if I'm Chris Mad Dog Russo, I don't understand why you've got to be infinitely pissed about absolutely everything. And how can you be that way? I know you get a paycheck to act like that, but to act like that, you don't just flip a switch, do you? So you kind of have to live like that, be like that. Just every single time. You can put up anything you want in social media. Say the nicest thing possible, and I guarantee you that some knob is going to have a problem with it. It is incredible. It's funny. You go back before, for example, the internet or social media. Like we knew jackasses were out there, but it was still like that they were a bit hidden. They were disguised. And now you have jackasses just announcing their presence all the time. I mean, jackasses and nimrods constantly. JMV, regarding the Mellencamp stuff, I don't have a problem with the message so much as the messenger. I think anyone who lives in or near Bloomington has heard stories of what a crank Mellencamp is, so he's the last person who should be giving lectures on behavior. It's weird. I don't know why you would even felt compelled to approach it. Because that statement on his website, and I know that he didn't put it together. I'm assuming he didn't put it together, but that thing's a paragraph or two right there. That took a minute. Yes.
Is it just me, or is it also really hard to read?
Is. It's white on white right there, I think. I mean, listen, this has nothing to do, and I like Pat McAfee a great deal, and he's here, or it has nothing to do with it being, a pro-Pacers rant. I just don't care. I just didn't think it was a big deal. I don't know. Maybe we just pick and choose so much on that. Sometimes the line gets a little bit blurred, but I don't have a problem with it. I didn't have a problem with it at the time. And really, I'd kind of forgotten about it. It was just something to kind of rev up the crowd a little bit. And believe me, that crowd was revved up. Now, I was back in the building, but it was certainly revved up compared to the way that it evidently was on Sunday night in game number 3. They probably needed that in game number 3 on Sunday, going into the fourth quarter, because the fourth quarter, there was zero action happening. Hey, JMV, just enjoy the new age people watch when the jackassery presents itself. It's like everybody scrambles. Yeah, I got to go ahead and get a part of that. I got to get in on that. Let's all jump on board. Let's make sure we got to have some chaos here. It's weird. Now, that is what social media has done. I saw this from Evan Sidery a little bit earlier. This is talking about OKC, which obviously would be the matchup coming up in the NBA Finals. Alex Caruso. And I didn't know this stat. I noticed that he is a problem. Single-handedly forced 34 turnovers for the Thunder during the NBA Finals run. Guarding the best players across all positions, Caruso is putting together one of the most underrated individual defensive postseason runs in quite some time. If I were going to mention to you, give me the top 8 players on OKC, would you have, before I just said that, mentioned Alex Caruso? And shout out to Evan Sidery for that little nugget of info. That's really good. We will store that one away. Hey, JMV, this is a big day for other reasons. All right, Chad, tell me why it's a big day for other reasons. In 1985, James, Taco Bell first introduced Mexican pizza.
Wow. I've never actually had a Mexican pizza from Taco Bell.
Do they still have that? It was good back in
so.
the day, yeah. I don't even know if they still have it. I didn't know that was going all the way back to 1985.
I think it's gone away and come back and gone away again multiple times.
BT says, Melon Cougar goes to the IU games. I'm sure he's heard worse and never said anything. Yeah, I just think there's some things you could tell out about. I didn't think that was very egregious. Maybe if you're a Knicks fan, maybe you do. Maybe if this happens in New York tonight, maybe Pacer fans are offended a great deal. See, I don't know if it's just me offended. I did hear, because you guys were responding to the whole Greenberg take of Jalen Brunson kind of dragging along what Mike Greenberg this morning described as a very lackluster team with not a great deal of talent on. I don't know what in the world. They go out and they talent up. Remember how excited everybody was about what they put together? They're in the Eastern Conference Finals, and what the take should be is the Pacers to this point, they have been the better team. And Jalen Brunson has not been dragging everybody else along with him. Karl Anthony Towns has been big number productive game. Plural. Anunoby's had nice games. Bridges has had nice games. And their problem is not being able to keep up the pace and defensively. Now, that would be your take if you're Greenberg. Not the, hey, everybody listen, I'm in love with Jalen Brunson, but here's what else is going on, and it's not good because this team is not very good. That's not it. They struggle with pace, and then they exceptionally struggle defending at pace, staying within. If you listen to Eddie Gill and I talk about how scrambled they get on the pacer push, and I had mentioned this, it's almost like that they run to guys that they've identified. Like they know, hey, I know in this case, this is a shooter, I'm going to run. And then other guys just kind of get a free run. That's not about Jalen Brunson dragging a team to the finals or the Eastern Conference Finals. This is about a team that's just getting outmaneuvered and outplayed up until this point. That's your take. Somebody tell Greenberg to thank me later for that. Hey, Brunson's good, don't get me wrong, but, hell, look at it compared to what it was a year ago. They had a complete makeover, and you can make an argument that DiVincenzo would be working for this team a hell of a lot better. I remember that a year ago in the Eastern Conference semifinals. DiVincenzo, was he not, in your memory, a tremendous pain in the ass? When he pulled up and let it rip, it always felt like it was going in, and I think if you look at the percentage, it went in about 44% of the time. I think they'd like to have that back right now. Even with Karl Anthony Towns. They're probably cool with Julius Randle not being here. Yeah, but I don't think that's the take whatsoever. I don't know if if I'm a Pacer fan, I don't look at it as if they're soft-tossing one to the Pacers saying you're not worthy. I just think the take in general is wrong. All right, 239-1070 is the number, line 3, and it's Tom. Hello, Tom. How are you?
Hey, John.
Hello, Tom.
Excited about tip-off tonight.
I am
looking
too.
Forward to. I think it's gonna be a great game. I'm planning on the Pacers being ready. I'm not gonna be surprised at all if they find a way to win this game. I've got a take about an adjustment that I'm expecting to see tonight.
Let's make an adjustment, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think if I'm Thibodeau, I'm going to try to find a way to get the ball out of Halliburton's hands. I don't say I'm going to double him all the way, but I'm going to try to double him whenever I can and get the ball out of his hands. And therefore, I think our guy tonight is Nembhard. I think Nembhard's going to have a big game. They're not going to pay attention to him. I think Nembhard's going to be a little motivated because much like Halliburton felt like he underplayed in Game 3, I think Nembhard's not going to be happy with his performance in Game 4. I think Nembhard is our superpower tonight.
So, Tom, stay right here. Let's go over this quickly. Yeah. You want a defensive ploy, kind of like what we saw with the Cavaliers in mind, because it would be Strus or anybody else that would basically pick up Halliburton, after makes or whatever in the front court and make sure that they couldn't get the ball to him and somebody else brought it up. And I also want to play off of this because 1 of 9 from the floor was Andrew Nembhard in game number 4. So I think it's logical to believe. He is a big game, big shot maker, and he was on the struggle bus the other night. So I would think so too.
John, he's our guy tonight. Another thing, couple other items. Why in the world don't the refs ever call Towns or anybody else with their off arm pushing guys away from them as they're going for their shot?
All right, here's their logic, Tom. Are you ready? Their logic is when they blow the whistle, they're not blowing the whistle for when they see the contact they believe is made by the defensive player before the contact is initiated by the offensive player. And that is going to be how they define that call, excuse or not. And I mean, I would agree with you on that. I think certainly utilizing the elbow or the forearm to, discard somebody from trying to check you up here, I think that's pretty obvious. But they would tell you that the actual contact and the foul call occurred prior to that.
Yeah, I get it, John. Hey, one other point. I hope Carlisle's getting into the guys today or yesterday on this. We fouled way too much. We got to defend without fouling so much. We did way too much of that. I think if we can defend without fouling, like our chances to win this in 5.
Hey, Tommy, here's the other thing too. It's very difficult to defend New York without fouling because they get whistles. Like Brunson he will get whistles that everybody else doesn't. So it's difficult. Like for example, for Neesmith to stay out of foul trouble, that's even more difficult than anybody can imagine because Brunson puts so much pressure on those with the whistles to make a call by initiating the contact, by flopping, by foul baiting. He is the master around the NBA of doing that, and it makes it even more difficult for those trying to check him.
Hey, looking forward to tonight. Not assuming anything, but would be an awesome final with the Thunder. Those boys can play some defense.
Yeah, they can. Yeah.
Caruso was stifling last night. We're going to have to figure out a way to deal with that, but let's get this last win done. Let's go Pacers.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate your call right there. What did everybody come up with Alex Caruso on your list? Would you have slotted him 5, 6, 7? So you would go Holmgren, Williams, SGA, Dort. I would bet you would go, I think some would go Cason Wallace, maybe. Normally I would go Isaiah Joe, but he didn't play too much last night. I was kind of looking at the minutes dispersed. I don't know if anybody would go Hartenstein before that you would go. I would say both Williams, SGA, there's 3, Dort, there's 4, Holmgren, Wiggins, not Wiggins, Wallace. I think that most people probably would forget Alex Caruso, especially at that level, because here's what you're going to see. You're going to see a stat line for Caruso last night. This makes a lot of sense. You're going to see a 1 of 5. 1 of 5 and 8 points. All right, so what could he have possibly done to get that respect? But clearly he makes his mark on the defensive end. And what I read that Evan Sidery had a little bit earlier in the hour is absolutely an incredible number defensively against the best of the best in the postseason. That will be worthy of discussion. Certainly if that's what we get. Matt writes this: the New York media market is not going to give the Pacers much due. They're going to find an excuse because that is a lot easier than their mindset than giving credit to an opponent. I got news for everybody right here. Mark my words. When we see Pacers and Thunder, that is going to wrangle an all-new, this is how we put a winner on the floor in the NBA dynamic. I know you guys are all laughing because it's OKC and Indianapolis, and nobody's going to care. And it's really weird that everybody cries and whines about the ratings with 2 small markets involved when the media contract is etched in stone. I mean, hell, that's not going anywhere. Nobody cares. Nobody cares except for the clowns that want to whine about it. Nobody cares. And what you're going to come to find out is both sides have an incredibly entertaining brand of basketball. And that's going to catch on like a virus. You watch. Because as much as we're talking about a golden era beginning here, what do you think they're talking about in OKC with that group right now? I mean, hell, I just told you how deep they go on their bench. And in the world of nerdy draft capital, that's like the epicenter of that. Yeah, a standard setter right there, without question. Line 4 before the break is Josh. Hello, Josh. How are you?
Yeah, what's going on, John?
Great, Josh. Go ahead.
What you just said right there, that was so beautifully put. Both OKC and our Pacers, they play a beautiful brand of basketball.
They do.
Teams built Kevin Pritchard and what's his name, Presti. I believe that's who's running OKC.
Sam Presti, indeed.
Yeah, they've done an excellent job at building basketball teams around their star players in SGA and Tyrese. Complete teams. OKC, man, I was watching them last night. They are a juggernaut, man.
Yeah, they are.
And I really want us to take care of business tonight so we can focus and get prepared for them. Because, and I'm not trying to look ahead because I don't want to – I really – coming back here for a Game 6, that puts a lot of pressure on us. And I just – although I believe the Pacers will get it done, I believe that'll hinder us in the finals, which – I mean, like what would have been a more competitive series. If we drag along with the Knicks, it might take a little out of us for OKC. And that's a team that's steamrolling through. Well, Denver gave them some problems, but other than that, they've been steamrolling through. And
I would agree. And these are like teams, and much like I know it was home, and you can view that as being a little easier to do than doing it in Madison Square Garden. But I absolutely love the resolve of the Thunder going out and dismissing any chance of the Timberwolves in game number 5 and preparing for the NBA Finals. That's my hope for the Pacers to be able to do a professional win in the Garden. That would make 3 wins in Madison Square Garden, which, let's just face it, that's absolutely legendary right there. And that's a hell of a way. That's a signature moment in the signature series if we're talking about a golden era of Pacers basketball right here. It'd be great.
Yes, and one thing, I said this on the morning show other day. Tell them ESPN clowns cover it in Connecticut if they don't want to come here, because we hosting the finals. We hosting it. Us and OKC, 2 little small markets. So all you whiny crybabies who don't like real basketball, you know what I'm saying? Y'all can go watch something on TV, some old reality show or something.
Yeah. If you don't like real basketball, just stay away. Josh, I appreciate it. Thanks for the call.
Yes, sir.
I want to see if anybody agrees with this right here before we break. And go ahead. We got time for you until the top of the hour at 239-1070. So Greg writes this, and it's funny because we talked about this with Luka. Some have talked about it, and you saw it in Denver when the younger Adelman just got hired, and he said, I want to see my team get into better shape. Greg writes this. The elephant in the room that media doesn't seem to want to talk about is that, are you ready, James? Brunson and Towns are just too fat to compete with the Pacers in a 7-game series. Now, before you say, well, that can't be right, if you look at the NBA landscape and where they're going to go, the pace of play with the Pacers, the pace of play with OKC, and then you hear the comments of Adelman with Denver and what they feel they have to do to get into better shape to compete. The comments made regarding Luka to get into better shape to compete. I don't altogether know if that's off.
I don't know if I'd use the term fat. But the overall idea of it, I think I could get behind. They may not have enough stamina to run with the Pacers.
That's another thing. The new groundbreaking that is going on if we see the Pacers and OKC is it's going to get everybody in the NBA in superior shape. That's incredible, right? I think that's an interesting take. It is, considering especially the past week. and some of the dialogue with other teams recognizing that you have to be able to play at a certain pace along with the depth. You got to have that next level of stamina. And clearly some teams feel as if their personnel do not. Get back to that coming up on the other side. 7:30 tonight. Coverage begins. 8 o'clock tip time. Pacers look to close it out in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. It'll be right here. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Oh, wait just a minute. Did anybody knock anymore?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
A little bit of Hoosier hospitality, by God. Let's hear it, James. Crank it. Got some stuff to go. I haven't heard this song in forever. This is the part, James. Turn it up. I got a gripe about something. Rudy Toot Toot. He's got to chill out, Mellencamp. Come on, man. It is all in good fun. Even Stiller didn't mind it. Nobody minded it. Plus, I'm saying Game 4, especially after Game 3, when basically everybody was dead ass in the fourth quarter and so was the team, got a little bit of fire-up inspiration. Come on! Rudy Toot Toot. Was that 1988? Was that from the album? And listen, I do like Mellencamp's music, and I've always been a fan. I'm not a fan of crotchety behavior, and that's what this is here. Big Daddy?
1987.
Is it Big Daddy, the album?
The Lonesome Jubilee.
Oh, damn. Rudy Toot Toot. We had it made in the shade like a ball through a hoop. I'm going to play that on the JMV Takeover. Well, I better not even put it that way. I'm going to play that on the, if there's a Game 6, I'll play that on the JMV Takeover on Friday night. I'm telling you, if the Pacers don't get it done tonight, I think some action needs to be taken about maybe me doing a Friday show. Won't people around here love that? Because nobody's going to be in here tomorrow to do anything about it. Hey, by the way, I'm not committed on Saturday. Yeah, I don't want to go oppo of Game 6. I sure as hell don't want you guys to all be down at the field house alone without a guy ready to restore order as I did the other night. As of right now, I don't even know if I have tickets to Game 6 anyway. I don't want it to happen. Just get it done right here. This, again, is what a special team does. Just like they did in Cleveland. And went in and housed the Cavaliers, the top seed of the East, in 3 games in their own arena. How great would that be if they're able to do that again tonight? Against the Knicks in the Garden? Could not be better. All right, 239-1070. Steve's on line 5. Steve, welcome to the show. How are you, sir? Hello, Steve. Steve going once. Steve going twice. Bill Cash is in the house on line 3. Hello, Bill.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Outstanding. Would you still listen to the JMV Takeover if it's opposite Game 6 Saturday night?
I would listen to that and watch it on mute.
Man. Thank you for that execution. That's awesome.
I need everybody to come get their food from Steak and Shake in Greenwood before 8 o'clock.
Before 8 o'clock. Why is that? Because you're going to leave? You're going to close the place down, are you, at 8 o'clock?
No, I'm going to watch the game on my phone.
While working at Steak and Shake?
While working. Yeah, I'll be worthless.
Hey, Billy, what's the big summertime shake at Steak and Shake?
We haven't launched anything new yet. The latest and greatest is going to be the Oreo and M&M is the latest at the moment.
Do you ever find it difficult sometimes when you put M&Ms in something cold like a milkshake or, just a big cup of ice cream that they freeze hard as a rock and it hurts your teeth when you bite them?
Absolutely.
I just wondered about that. It's kind of an interesting dynamic.
It is.
And they don't fit through a straw if you have a straw for your milkshake.
Steak and Shake uses a bigger straw for the shakes.
Oh, you got an extra large straw.
Right, it's extra thick. The girth is there.
I knew I could count on you, brother. Steak and Shake on 135 in Greenwood. Make sure to go tonight.
31 in Smith Valley.
Oh, 31 in Smith Valley. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Not the 135. It's 31 in Smith Valley by Greenwood High School. Make sure you go there. And hey, you can't turn left off of Smith Valley going northbound on 31 either. Get it right.
Yeah. Quotas are met by the cops on those.
Do you get a lot of people? I'm telling you what, there is nothing more frightening than trying to navigate that roundabout there at Smith Valley and Madison. It's like a demolition derby. It's like I just entered the demolition derby right there.
And the drive-through window looks right at it, so I stare at it and watch it all day long.
Oh, man, it's like a demolition derby at the Johnson County Fair right there. So, yeah.
That's right.
All right, Billy, I appreciate it. Steak and Shake, 31 in Smith Valley, before 8 o'clock.
Before 8.
Gotcha.
Before 8 o'clock.
We're on it, brother.
Thanks, boss.
You got it, man. Thank you. Anybody try to navigate recently Madison and stop 11, the roundabout there? Now, it's double barrel action. So I'm serious. It's like, you ever, what is that when they, at baseball games where they blindfold you and then you put a bat and you bend down and they put you in circles and you have to walk around and kind of find your way while you're all wobbly? That's what that roundabout looks like. Every single person trying to drive through it. Nick's on line 5. Give me Nick here, would you please, James? Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Long-time fan, first-time call.
It's awesome to hear, brother.
Yeah, I actually came out and seen you guys out the track, you and Tony Katz. It was a good time.
It was a good time out at the track with Tony Katz. It's always a good time. That one time a year, I get ample opportunities to throw it to Matt Bear traffic. I love it.
Yeah.
What do you got, brother?
Yeah, to your question, I don't know if I agree with them being fat and not being able to run with the Pacers. I just feel like they just don't have a deep team. They definitely don't have the stamina, but their team is not as deep as the Pacers. They can't run with them. They don't get enough time to have breaks to be able to run with the Pacers. If you look at any past champions, they're deep. All the way to Boston, Golden State, all of them, they run 8-10 deep. They have no problem getting people off the bench. New York just don't have the guys to come off the bench to compete with the Pacers.
Well, I do agree with that. And you can tell, Nick, that Thibodeau has been going deeper with Shamet, with Ochua a couple of different times, too, with Wright, than what we have normally seen. I don't know how often he ever went that deep during the regular season. So he's changed that up against the Pacers a little bit, certainly in this series.
Yeah, they're making them do that for sure.
Nick, what else?
That's it. Other than that, Pacers in 6 in the championship for sure.
You got it, Nick. It was great to see you at the track, man. Thanks for coming by.
Yep. All right, thank you.
So Jennifer writes, this conditioning is a factor. They're huffing and puffing 6 minutes into the game, especially Cat and Robinson. Yeah, I'm telling you what, if Robinson is not dominant, which means just standing underneath the basket and waiting for a rebound, no matter how much time he spends under the basket waiting for a rebound. If you make him do anything else. By the way, did anybody go out? I'm curious. Did anybody go immediately out after the game on Tuesday night and buy a lottery ticket? Any of you? Right after the game. And everybody was happy Pacers won and all that. But the reason why I say that is I thought it would be a great time to go out and buy a lottery ticket because Mitchell Robinson hit 2 free throws in a row. Did anybody take that as a cue? I better go buy a lottery ticket. Normally, he doesn't hit the rim 2 times in a row with free throws. But he hit 2 straight free throws, and I was surprised that there was not a mass exodus to go to the local convenience store to buy lottery tickets. That was like Haley's Comet. That was like what we all did and celebrated the eclipse last year. Seriously, I think that was a more unusual moment than that eclipse of April of a year ago. I agree with Jennifer. There's no doubt conditioning is a factor. And I think what Greg had written, even in terms of the fat usage right there, I think we are going to see more teams understand that the pace of play that's going to get it done is on the rise, and your fellas need to be in better condition, better running shape. Believe me, they're already in superior condition. But as we have seen, along with the depth of these teams, there's a higher gear to be had right here. You know, I mentioned what Adelman said about the Nuggets moving forward. There are some examples out there, too. Agree with that, Jennifer. Calls on the other side. Mike Chappell, top of the hour. AAA Membership Lounge, where you can enter to win a 2-seater ride at IMS right now. Again, AAA.com, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
I love JMV. He looks like Rascal Flatts guy.
Got a cool soul patch.
He does, and a buttery smooth voice.
Oh, yeah.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Now, Mellencamp's man. So we play his music. Elvis writes this. One thing about the Garden, if the Pacers can get a big lead at some point, the crowd will boo their own team just as loud as they cheer them. That crowd could turn on them fast. The Pacers get out to a sprint, as you hope they can do, and close that thing out in 5 later on tonight. Tip time's at 8 o'clock. 7:30 coverage begins right here on The Fan. Mike Chappell, top of the hour, where we start there. Of course, OTA is going on, and the continued, this is what the quarterback did in 7-on-7 chatter, which you guys all love. It's coming up at the top of the hour, and more calls up until that point. Who we got here next? Bobby G on line 5. Hello, Bobby G.
Hey, brother.
Good to hear from you.
How are you?
I'm great, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. Was at the game the other night.
Yes.
And sat in back of Prosecutor Ryan Mears, and I asked if I could make a citizen's arrest on Carl Towns. I thought he just
what was his retort?
Every damn time, John. Oh, he thought it was kind of funny.
So that guy had better tickets. Did he have good tickets, good seats?
Oh yeah. His tickets. We were low.
What do all these political doinks get all these good tickets about? Why? Why do they got to sit that low?
I think just in case something they need to be there for some kind of emergency.
See,
right?
here's what's complete BS. They're there to be seen.
Yeah.
Political doinks don't give a crap about basketball. They're there to be seen and to shake hands and to look over people that they're shaking hands with.
I will tell you, he was there with his son, and
okay. Well, maybe he was there. Okay, we'll give him credit where credit is due. Let's just say this. We'll rephrase. Most political doinks are there to be seen.
Yeah, and I thought that whole issue with Stiller, he did take exception to it. I don't know if you saw some of what he wrote on Twitter, but I thought it was in good humor, and I thought it was.
It was.
Yeah, if you were a Pacer fan in New York City, would you rather be that, or would you rather be a New York fan in Indy?
Yeah, I mean, either way. You know, I mentioned this a little bit earlier too, Bobby. I mentioned where, who knows how people would react if, somebody that's a big-time Pacer fan that they cared about got treated the same way. So
exactly. Yep.
So if you think Mellencamp went to the game tonight, if he goes to Game 5 in New York City, do you think they put him on who's in the house segment at the Garden? Would he get booed or cheered? Because I wonder, is there a motive here? Is he going to the game tonight? So if it gets put on the big screen, he's going to get a cheer?
That's a good thought. I wonder, because he's lived in New York City too.
Well, when he got on camera, when they showed him on camera on Tuesday night, he did that Mellencamp move where he kind of smooths things out with his left hand and then with his right hand, right? Like he's done in videos before. So, I mean, it was like a moment where I thought, normally there's no reaction whatsoever, but it was almost like there was very small, a smidge of enjoyment going on there, I thought.
I would agree. Yep.
Yeah. We'll see.
Got to throw the gauntlet out, too.
Okay.
Every Wednesday, Athletic Club, we get about 12 guys that play. Luke Basso's dad, 73, still playing. But most of the guys are in their 40s.
Basso's dad still plays, huh? Good for him.
Drew Basso is still out there at 73.
God, that's awesome, man. That's so great.
Get up and down the court, and I get to guard him a lot, which is good because I'm in my 60s and I don't want to chase any of those 30, 40-year-olds. But
what athletic club are you talking about?
The Indianapolis Athletic Club. They still have the floor there.
See, I don't know where that is. They may not let me in there. I may be too hilljack for that.
Vermont and Meridian.
Vermont and Meridian.
Old school 3/4 size floor.
And I feel like I'm going to be playing in the White Shadow then. I'm excited about that. Thanks. I'll come. Wednesday nights?
Dude, Wednesday night, 5 o'clock, we get a good showing, and we'd love to have you come down and broadcast from there and play. See what Greene County can bring.
Now,
to the table.
will you guys invite me again if I whip everybody's ass?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, cool.
It won't happen, but.
I don't know. Well, who plays over there? You got any names? Anybody I know?
Oh, God. Back in the day, Rolf would play from Butler. He was like 7-footer.
Okay.
Yeah, he played for Butler for a couple of years, but just mostly guys that played, were good high school ball players.
Right.
A couple guys that Bobby Torres, I think, played at South Florida or something.
I'm always looking for a new place, man. So
okay.
You let me know. When you're doing it again. Tell Basso to reach out to me, and I'll be over there.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Bobby G. That's nice. I love the pickup basketball invites. Keep them coming, and I don't care where it is. I'll go, and I will show up. People know that to be true. I'm not just talking junk. I will go. Quick break. We'll come back. Chappell and your calls don't go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
On your head. Just drive fast, okay?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Come on, John. Let's not be angry. Let's have a little bit of fun, be lighthearted. Shout out to the Blue and Gold. It was funny on Tuesday night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Gutshot says, of course you'll show up. I'm guessing you showed up even when no one wanted you to. Let me tell you what, Gutshot, right now. I am a 175-pound ball of whoop ass. I'm reborn. You know, all the time I kind of joke about we in the state of Indiana, most of us, the moment we slide, and you guys always kind of cringe when I say it, slide out of the birth canal, automatically we love basketball. That's just us. That's always been me. But I am reborn in it right now. So, Gutshot, I am going absolutely anywhere. Diggler writes, you, sir, are the rounders of pickup basketball. I am. If you're playing, you tell me where you're playing, and I'm going. I don't care where it is. Now, I will say this. I'm not the biggest fan of playing. I don't want to play really outside on concrete too much. And don't call me if your ass is playing half court, because that is a tremendous stand-around waste of time. Otherwise, I'm game. Speaking of which, Pacers' opportunity to close tonight. Eastern Conference Finals, NYC, Madison Square Garden, tip at 8. 7:30 coverage begins right here on The Fan. A complete recap. As you know, that's on board coming up tomorrow beginning at 3 o'clock. What kind of celebration would they have at the Garden if the Pacers were to win? Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 is here. I've mentioned this before, Mike. This happens to be this Pacer team, and I've said this long before now. One of my favorite teams, if not the most favorite team that I can remember of any team of all time around here. You've been around here even longer than I have. Where would this one rank to you as enjoyment?
Yeah, they're fun to watch. They're fun to enjoy. They seem like guys who get it. A lot of teams that are really good have somebody you have to put up with, some knucklehead, the Lane Stephen type guys who you either like him or you don't, and all that stuff. I don't see a lot of that on this team, if any. Here's where I date myself. I really, really enjoyed Slick Leonard's Pacers with Freddie Lewis. I'm really dating myself. With Roger Brown and Mel Daniels and Billy Keller.
Well, that's why we have you here, because you can provide perspective that others may not know.
I'm ancient, but those were good teams. And hearing some of Robin Miller's exploits of covering that team are things that cannot be shared in radio or TV. But those were good teams. They were fun to watch. They won a couple of championships, whatever it was, in the ABA. And this team, we'll see. I mean, I'm glad they've gotten this far again. It's not the next step. The next step is winning another game and then going to the finals. And then we'll see. And one thing, I saw somewhere said, well, they win one more game and then they're playing with house money. Man, I don't agree with that. I mean,
well, that's not the way anybody else looks at it. Yeah, right.
When you're there, grab it. I always go back to Dan Marino making a Super Bowl like in his second year, and everybody thought this guy's going to be here forever, and he never got back. So when you're there, grab it. I know OKC's is playing phenomenal, and they've got stars, but boy, when you get there, seize it. So I hope it finishes tonight, because then tomorrow you're going to be wearing out the must-win.
Yes.
On Game 6.
Do you cringe when I say must win as often as I do?
Well, only that you use it more liberally than I do. I'm one of those, again, here we go, ancient. Marv Levy said the only must win was World War II. So, but in the local context, a lot of times you're very right. And I would not want to go to Game 7 at back in the Garden. I wouldn't. I don't know what to expect tonight. This is one of the strangest playoff runs where they come out and they go 2-0 on the road in the series, in these three series, and then they get waxed in Game 3, which is at home, which is crazy. And then they come back and they don't lose Games 4 and 5. I don't know if that Game 3 is a wake-up call, if they think, hey, we got this thing in the back. I don't know. Maybe it's a desperation from the other team. But I can't even anticipate either the Pacers coming out tonight and jumping to that 29-13 lead, or the Knicks coming out and throwing a haymaker at them.
Yeah.
And how they respond. So I end it tonight. You don't want to come back here for Game 6, and then yes, the pressure's on the Knicks because it's an elimination game, but the pressure's on the Pacers as well because you don't want to go back to New York for Game 7. But they're fun to watch. They still, and I'll say this every time we talk, they drive me crazy, driving the lane, giving up good shots, and kicking it out to Obi or Miles or somebody or Pascal, and then they drill in threes. I understand that's what the analytics tell you, but they're so fun to watch. And the one thing that I found was amazing in this last game when they were going so great is the Knicks would score or miss, and the Pacers scored at the other end in like 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And because the deeper they go into the shot clock, I think the worse off they are. But boy, they're put together so well. The pieces fit. When you hear the players talking about this is a team, and I really believe that. I believe they believe it. There's no, Halliburton is the engine. He sets the tone for everything. But any night somebody else can drop 30, Neesmith or Siakam or Miles Turner's due for a blowout game. He really is. He's been okay, but he's due for that blowout game. So they've played well. We've not seen their best game yet.
No, I agree with that. Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I have said this, Pacers Sports and Entertainment, they right now are walking through the front door of a golden era. And
yep,
I know that
think so too.
I know that the Fever, you're without Caitlin Clark right now, but once she gets back with what they have here and what they have with the Fever, you could not have asked for anything better. And I also will suggest this to you. With the Pacers and OKC, if that's how that breaks in the finals, I think these two team-oriented squads will help change a lot of attitudes on how you put together a team around the NBA. How do you utilize the star power versus having depth and be able to be in condition to run at the pace? Because it was brought up to me a little bit earlier about Towns, for example, and Brunson not being up to the task and pace. And Thibodeau's tried to, arrange a deeper bench to give these guys more of a blow. But you see the Denver new head coach suggest his team needs to be in better shape. You know what they've said about Luka in L.A.
Yep.
I think we're going to a completely different era in which it is not so much about the two elite-level stars as it is about the team, it is about the pace, and it is about the depth. And that is going to be because of the potentially two teams we see in this year's finals.
I heard you earlier talk about how you hate to play half-court basketball.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. You don't even sweat.
Towns loves to play half-court.
Yes, he does.
He played half-court second half.
Yeah, I know it.
Because he couldn't get up and down the court. No question. And I think Jalen Brunson is running on empty. Now, I understand that Carlisle's been so strict. He's kept to his routine, the rotation. And there have been a couple of times I thought, man, get Halliburton back in there, 2 minutes earlier. He has stuck with his guys and through the good stretches and the bad stretches, and I think he's done a masterful job of using the bench. When I might kind of panic and say, man, we need to shorten it. I need more of these guys from these guys' minutes, but it's worked, and you just see the wearing down of the Knicks. And on the broadcast, they were talking about how every time the Pacers were fouling, they were stopping the game and letting these guys get their wind. They were still sucking gas. They just couldn't catch their breath. And even with that, here we go, armchair. They let Towns get away with so much bull in a china shop stuff.
Well, I explained that. Somebody asked that, Mike, a little bit earlier, the officiating tactic there. And they can explain away their whistle, even if there is an egregious elbow or forearm thrown going to the basket, by suggesting that defensively the contact occurred before the elbow or the forearm. So that's how they get around.
That's where they
that's like the fine print of whistleblowers in the NBA.
That's where they need to say. That's where I've heard a couple of times on these replays where there was marginal contact,
right,
which means, hey, you got away with that. But boy, I mean, he hooks and he pulls and.
I would think too. Whenever you say any type of contact, that equates to a foul, right? I mean, marginal contact or not, is that not still contact and should be considered a foul?
Marginal, and then there's marginal, and there's stop it.
Right.
But there were a couple of plays. I thought that Neesmith had a huge bucket where I thought he charged through Brunson.
Right.
And they didn't call. So I almost would say it evens out, but it doesn't, because I still think Cat gets away with a lot of crap. But it's just play through it. I do get a little bit concerned when they start every play. It's either, replay, they're putting their finger in there to replay, they're bitching to officials. I understand that. It's all across the league. Play through it. Go out there tonight and just put your foot on their throat and come back home by yourself. You're not bringing the Knicks with you. And then we'll see next week.
Well, Rick went with his challenge way too early the other night, lost it, and that could have become certainly more detrimental than it ultimately was for that team.
I'd like to know how he thinks about it. It's not quite as bad in the NFL where receivers will say, yeah, I caught it and all this. But every play early, these players are say, challenge. And on one level, the coach wants to trust his. Now they've got those laptops on the side, so they get an instant replay. But on one level, the coach wants to trust his players. But on the second, you want to say, hey, listen, it's first quarter, and we want to keep these. That one game, whatever series it was, whether the Bucks or the Cavs, they needed those challenges late. So, that's where the coach says, yeah, okay, I understand, but we're not going to do it. But every play, a player wants it to be challenged, and, so the coach has to really be in control, he and his staff. That's where the coach has to rely on the people who are looking at that. But, he's done a masterful job of coaching in this series, and it's really cool to see. And, again, the fact that he's got so many people that he has to keep happy, I guess. I don't know. But you have to give them their minutes, and they've all bought in, which is really kind of rare.
Golden era for Pacers Sports and Entertainment, and I've shouted out to Steve Simon a number of times here for a while now that if it takes going into a different layer or level of luxury tax that you've never been before, Have they
ever paid luxury tax?
Well,
I don't know.
I think, and I don't really know it. I don't think they have. These are going to be, let's just say, for example, I think OKC and the Pacers, if they meet in the finals, are the first two teams in I don't know how long that haven't entered the luxury tax.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a first for both. Now, both are going to have to or end up – what do you got here, James? Tell me.
According to this, the Pacers have not paid the luxury tax since 2005.
So, yeah.
Wow.
But these are going to be the first two teams in the finals that presumably will meet that have not been in the luxury tax. I'd have to look up that stat as to how long, but it's a unique matchup for that reason, to say the least, if that how it occurs.
And you know what? This will probably be a low-rated finals, if that's who it is. Pacers and Thunder will probably not be.
Here,
and that's
yes,
a shame. If that's,
and you're right.
If that's the case, that's a shame.
It is. It would piss me off because that just goes to show you that we're not talking about true basketball people. Because both of these teams exemplify great teamwork. And it's depth, it is teamwork, it is pace, it's everything that all these babies talk about all the time they want to see, and then you get it delivered to you in the finals, and you decide you can't watch because the size of the market. What type of dumbass do you have to be?
Well, we know what kind of dumbass you are, but
exactly.
but again, and you just have to know that the TV folks, they would much rather have the Knicks on there against the Thunder than the Pacers, and the Pacers right now are clearly the better team. They just are. But again, it's that would probably do away with all the conspiracy theories if it's the Pacers and the Thunder, because that's not what you would think the NBA wants. They still want LeBron. They still want Steph. They want Boston, although without Tatum. But they'd rather have the Knicks. And I think Brunson is a really, really, really good player.
I do too.
Really good. But he's not at the level that ESPN wants us to believe. I just, as much as I like to watch like Get Up in the Morning with Greenberg, my God, they make these guys out to be a top 5 player in the league right now. And they're so slow to get on the Pacer train, and I guess I understand that. But I wish there was a better appreciation for what people around here have seen and the way they do things the right way. And again, I wish there was a time there to occasionally go over the tax and get somebody in here, and they've resisted that. Whether they can do that again with what they had to do with Miles Turner, I don't know. I've not followed.
He can and they can. He'd be fine. He's going to inherit billions. And I'm talking about somebody else's money, but you owe it to people around here who sat through crap to get to this, and you owe it to yourself to build off of something that likely will not return for a number of decades. So you better grasp it, and you better run with it, or you're a fool if you don't.
Well, and one of the cool things, too, is how many times on your show through the years have people, and I've been sort of one of them, that wanted something better than Miles Turner. Just something better.
No, that's not been me. So yes.
Well, I know. No. You've defended that, and I've been a guy that thought, yeah, I wish I had something a little more. But doggone, he fits what they do perfectly, and I assume they keep him. God, is he still like 29? He played like
29 years of old. Yeah, 29 years of age, I believe.
He's played forever, but he's just exactly what they need, and he fits. So yeah, I think it's a really great collection that they've got. They play together, and I hope they can keep that core 7 guys around, and then add complementary. They don't need to add a star. They've got stars with. And again, I tell you, the other night when Siakam has 30, I thought that was the quietest 30 points I have ever seen. But that's what he does. He's just a scorer, and he fits this team perfectly.
And you know what they did? They went out and got him, even though many argued about his timeline not matching up with others. They went out and got him when others wanted Anunoby. And let's just face it, Siakam, with this team, the way that it's built, fits much better than Anunoby would. So that's another great player, too. And he is, but he's not a low post guy. And Siakam is. They have one low post. People argue with me all the time about, Miles, get your ass in the post. Oh, no. Yeah. They already have one in there that's top 10 in the NBA in low post touches. And one is enough in this era of the NBA, and that's Siakam. He's very good at it, very productive at it. And certainly he and Anunoby are different in those ways, and that's why he fits much better, even a little bit older than Anunoby would here.
Right. And again, the way that they've built this team around perimeter play and perimeter shooters, yet they can go inside. Nembhard goes inside occasionally, mid-range anyway. But again, it's just masterful building of a roster. And I hope that something comes really great. I know OKC is going to be a load, but boy, when you get there, stuff happens and put yourself in position. And that's what they've done. And that's why I say close tonight, so we're not worrying about the pucker factor in Game 6. And there will be a pucker factor in Game 6. But just finish it tonight and, have one. Do what OKC did to the Timberwolves last night, which was embarrassing.
Yeah.
In an elimination game to be down, what was 30 at the half. But just no suspense, just put it out of the way and move on. I'd appreciate that.
And by the way, Pacers, that way Mike Chappell won't have to hear me tomorrow talking about must-win Saturday night.
Boy, won't you? Won't you? It'll be must-win Friday. I know, yeah.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 is with us. We know that Jim Irsay is going to be a private viewing and grieving and funeral initially for him. When do you expect there to be something public in a celebration of what was one of the most important lives and existences in recent memory, certainly around Indianapolis?
Good question, and I don't know. I really don't. We did our podcast today at Fox 59, and Matt Adams, our producer guy, who's really good, he thought he had a great idea. Have the Jim Irsay collection, the band, do it before the season open, like they've done in the past on that Saturday before the home game. Would be pretty cool. Open up Lucas Oil Stadium and have 40,000, 50,000 people there, and they could have his collection out there, and it'd be a great. Now, whether they wait that long, I don't know. That's a long wait, but it seems kind of not right to have it just like in mid-June. On June 10th, we're going to do this. No, that would be really kind of cool. It would sort of remind everybody about how Jim liked to open the season with a bang, and that'd be pretty cool. They could bring back, and all the musicians who have contributed to his band.
Yeah.
Steven Stills and Mellencamp. That'd be awesome stuff. So it'll be, the fans will get a chance to say their goodbyes and appreciations. I just don't know when. So, we'll have to kind of wait and see.
Hopefully Mellencamp does not stay offended, as evidently he was after Game 4.
Well, boy, you give McAfee the mic, and you're just sort of.
I think that's also. I think more so John Mellencamp just being crotchety about everything.
Probably, that's a very good point.
Yeah,
and he's probably friends with those guys that McAfee told to go home and pound sand. But that's the era we're in now, is where loud is good, and if you can lay it on the Knicks, I guess lay it on the Knicks, and. Because if they get the chance to do that to you guys tonight, the Pacers tonight, they will with their star-studded fans.
Let me tell you what, they'd be the first there to make fun of anybody's small town around here, Mike.
Of course.
In a second.
Hicks and Knicks. I go back to the Hicks and the caricatures of Larry Bird in a Beverly Hillbillies truck. So yeah.
And I've been to Seymour before, and there's nothing about Jackson County that's cosmopolitan, by the way, either.
I understand that. Hayseeds.
Yeah. So it just reeks of, man. Can you just chill out and not take everything so seriously?
Yep.
I mean, it was. And I will say this, Mike, compared to the way that it was on Sunday, going into the fourth quarter, where the crowd was kind of dead ass, and so was the team. I thought that something like that was necessary to get everybody fired up because, like Game 3, it was kind of a downer, and the team played in that second half and in the fourth quarter like it was a downer.
Yeah, Bob Kravitz is one that mentioned he thought maybe it was just the end of a long day.
Yeah.
And everybody was just spent and probably liquored up. So, yeah, but sometimes I think the fan support is a little overblown, but not now. Not now. They lift you. I think in New York it works against the Knicks. Can you imagine if the Pacers get out to 29-15 or something and turns off their fan base?
And they start booing the home team? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you want.
Right. So, but when you're here and you just hear the anticipation when somebody cranks up a three and then it goes in. So, yeah, I wonder how much it helps, like in some sports. Basketball, when you're just on top of people, it still amazes me, and I'm not crazy about the way it works, is how you've got fans right next to Carlisle. They could reach out and give me a wedgie if they wanted to. But that's the way the NBA is. You got fans on the sidelines right there. In the NFL, you're more detached because you got the space. But yeah, that place was rocking. I wasn't there, but you get the feeling through the TV and all that. So yeah, the way to do it tonight is get the lead and just test their fan base. How badly do you want to rally your team when you're already down 3-1?
Well, I hope everybody's happy because I seamlessly now navigated through this without asking about any 7-on-7 quarterback comparison right here. So I hope everybody's happy.
We're going to wear people out.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that too. So yeah,
they put us in this position, so we're going to have to report it. And I'm just telling people right up front, don't get crazy about every day who's the top of the leaderboard, because this is going to go through the middle of training camp. And they'll let us know when they want to let us know.
Appreciate you, Mike. Enjoy the game tonight.
Go talk to you. I'll be listening to you tomorrow to see what kind of response you get.
Hopefully it's not a must-win Friday, as you mentioned.
I hear you. Be well.
Thanks, Mike. Mike Chappell of CBS 4, Fox 59 on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Look at all the size of relief out there. You didn't have to talk about the 7-on-7 quarterback comparison with the Colts. You're welcome. 239-1070. More from you the rest of the way. And your thoughts on tonight's game, number 5. A closeout opportunity and what they like to reference the Mecca. Will they show New York City, and Madison Square Garden hospitality later on tonight to those that are rooting for the blue and gold? Quick break. We'll come back. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Shout out to Mellencamp. Hoosier hospitality. Here's the type of Hoosier hospitality on the road I want to see the Pacers give. A thorough ass beating in Game 5 tonight. That's my little ditty. My little ditty is go up there and whip that ass. Because I don't want a Game 6, and this is for selfish reasons. I right now am doing JMV TakeOver, and if there's a Game 6 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, two reasons here. One, I can't go, and as I did in game number 4, help restore order. So that's problematic, I think, for everybody. And then I don't want to go with the JMV TakeOver up against Game 6 of the Knicks and the Pacers. So, man, would it be absolutely gorgeous, smoking hot, if the Pacers' little ditty tonight is to end the Knicks season at home with 3 back-to-back-to-back losses. How beautiful would that be? Is there any better way, you think, to usher yourself back to the NBA Finals for the first time in 25 years while also bringing in the golden era of Pacers basketball, of Pacers sports and entertainment? Man, that's how you do something, and you do something upright right there. 239-1070. Here's our guy Fulton, who has phoned. Hello, Fulton.
Hey, good afternoon, John.
Fulton was confused about the time of day it is, because I think you've been on hold since the morning, so that's why, right?
Yeah, yeah, I should have.
What do you got, buddy?
Well, I went to the 500 parade for my first time.
You went to the where and who and what?
The Indiana 500 parade.
Oh, the Indianapolis 500 parade. I got you.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
well, good for you.
Time.
Your first time. Is that your first? That's not your first parade, though, is it?
It is.
Okay. Not your first parade overall, though. You've done parades before.
Right.
Okay. I got you.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. What else you got, buddy?
Well, I'm going to go see Chuck Lofton tomorrow morning. He's going to be in Noblesville.
Chuck Lofton's in what's Chuck Lofton doing in Noblesville? Just coming to see you?
Well, he's going to be having the Noble coffee and tea.
Okay.
At Noblesville Square. From
is he doing Chuck's Big Adventures with Fulton? I think is what they're calling that segment on Channel 13, right? Chuck's Big Adventures in Noblesville with Fulton.
Yep, gonna be there tomorrow morning.
Well, let me tell you, this is about ready, I think, for Chuck to exit. Correct, to retire.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. So give him Fulton. Make sure you give him our best because we love Chuck.
Yep, and I just got some breaking news.
Breaking news from Fulton.
Cool in the gang, Michael Summer has died at the age of 71.
I saw that.
Had a car crash.
I saw that. Yeah, I think that happened late yesterday, but somebody made me aware of that too. And it unfortunately, losing some of those we absolutely love, entertaining-wise, musically speaking, is becoming all too familiar, and that stinks. Fulton, thank you very much. Enjoy the game tonight. Enjoy Chuck. What? Okay.
I forgot to tell you something else. My music therapist is going to take me to the Fever game on June 26th.
What's that?
I'm going to the Indiana Fever game on June 26th.
Okay, Fulton. Well done.
So you might have to come and see me.
You got it, buddy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My man, Fulton, right there. Hey, Joseph, it's just kind of funny. This is how you sometimes read X. And the first thought, Joseph wrote this, James. Hey, recheck the 2020 NBA draft picks 1 through 14. When I first saw it, I thought Joseph wrote, James, hey, redneck. And I go, what? But Joseph was calling me a redneck.
You're getting ready to pop off on him, weren't you?
I was going, Joseph, I'm not a... Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. Skivvy says, is Mellencamp going to start singing Forget All About That Macho Beep and learn how to play guitar? Forget all about that macho bleep and give out some Hoosier hospitality. Change the lyrics on that, brother. Come on. Excellent. Kenny's on line 3. James, give me Kenny. Hello, Kenny.
How you doing, Johnny?
Kenny, I'm great.
You were talking about Mellencamp songs. My favorite one's it's a classic. It's "I Saw You First." Now, if that ain't some crazy stuff, I don't know what is.
Wait a minute. I saw. Was that? I saw. What was that? I saw you. That was from the '90s, right?
Yeah, it was a great hit, man.
See,
wow.
I dig '90s Human Wheels a great deal from Mellon.
Yeah.
I like the catalog. And I've always said this about him because I like his music so much, and he's been such an Indiana icon. I just wish he would lose a little bit of the crotchety behavior because my man is just way too damn wound up about stuff. Just chill out a little bit. Let's hear some of my music, play it, let's celebrate it. It's cool, and not be so pissy about everything.
I agree, brother. Hey, I got a prediction. Pacers win 127-105.
I'm gonna give it. I'll tell you what. If they get to 127, I think we're all feeling pretty damn good about that pace of play right there, Kenny.
Well, we're going to be happy tonight, brother, because they got the it factor, and they're going to slam it down on them.
The it factor. Kenny, thanks for the call. Enjoy the game.
All right.
Steve's on line 2, James. Give me Steve. Hello.
Hey, John. How's it going?
Great, Steve. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I'm a runner, and as a runner, I cannot tell you how much joy I took hearing Thibodeau telling Big Body and Big Cat to sprint.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
I mean, number one, Thibodeau has no concept of what the word sprint means. And
right.
Telling someone to sprint that has never practiced that way is like telling someone to run a marathon without training. It's like you can't just do it.
It's a nice way that Thibodeau says, "Get your fat ass down the floor."
Exactly.
That's it. That's a really nice way to try to say it. Spread it out. So yeah.
You see these guys with this beaded sweat on their foreheads. You're like, you've never run like that in your life.
Well, I think what everybody's saying is true. I think you're going to see a lot of NBA teams get in even better shape because of what we witness with the Pacers and OKC moving forward here. I think there's going to be a better shape, a better condition movement now because of that.
And them not going into the luxury tax. It's almost like a Moneyball NBA thing.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, both I would expect, I don't know what, because I think OKC still has a lot of options with what they like to reference as draft capital. But they're going to have, they got a lot of guys that are going to have to be signed. They're going to make a lot more money. So they're going to have to make some decisions. And we know what the Pacers will have to approach coming up this offseason as well and the financial decisions they're going to have to make. So I think that old saying, blank or get off the pot applies to both here relatively soon, right?
Yeah, and someone said earlier about Caruso being a good player. I watched him play. I hate that guy. So yeah,
that's how you know. That's exactly how. And how you know is you read the box score and you go, "Well, that guy didn't do jack squat," and then he's probably one of their most versatile, most important players. Very true.
Yeah, I would not want to play that guy.
Steve, thank you for the call.
Thanks, John.
Hey, we got another Steve, line 1. Hello, Steve. How are you, my brother?
JMV, how are you? Steve Girardi here.
Steve Girardi, how you feeling?
I feel fantastic. I can't help it.
You were supposed to give me the classic Donna Summer line lyric, "I feel love," but you didn't do it. That's okay.
Whenever I hear your voice, I feel love, whether we're talking or not.
You didn't have to put it quite in that context, but I get you. I got you. What do you got, Steve?
You did something about an hour and a half ago that has not been done in Indianapolis since the late 80s.
Oh, man. What is that?
You played my very favorite John Mellencamp song, part of it, Rudy Toot Toot, which was on the album The Lonesome Jubilee. And I go back to that tour. We when I was with Sunshine Promotions, we spent 9 days in Terre Haute at the Holman Center rehearsing the tour. And they played the song on and off, rehearsed it on and off, but I don't know if they actually played it live that much because it really took like 4th place. Yet sadly, that song was one of the best songs John ever did. My favorite John.
It was, and it's rarely ever played. And one of the reasons why I played it is because in the lyrics it says, "Has it made in the shade like a ball through a hoop," which is, I think, incredibly appropriate right now.
and sadly, and God bless her, I hope she's okay. But John has his daughter Teddy Jo,
yes,
who he references, who's having her own health issues.
So I did not know that.
And yes, and she was on that Housewives show, I believe.
Yeah,
But,
I've heard that. Yeah.
And John also had a late brother, Ted, who I knew, who passed away years ago of cancer at the age of 57. But that is just such a great song, and I really hope you play it on your show.
You know what? I'll play it on Saturday. Well, I mean, hopefully I'm on Saturday, not opposite of the Pacers, because then nobody's going to hear it. But yeah.
Well, no, that's all the more reason why the Pacers need to win tonight, because doggone it, you need some time off, JMV. That's the only reason why.
Exactly. Give me some time. I do. Like, my voice was on the struggle bus on Sunday, man. So I could say. And by the way, speaking of Mellencamp, I had the Hudster. Hud was hanging out in the RV in the Coke lot with me on Saturday night. So, yeah. And it's still like everything is still in it, too, and still together. It didn't get all it was cool. But I've met him the past year, and I enjoy hanging. He's a good dude. He's a fun kid. So I like him a great deal.
If I'm not mistaken, doesn't he work for John when John tours? Present day?
He played a song for me, and it was a AI voice version of a country song that had a lot of porn references in it. He said he played it for his dad, and his dad hates it, and he plays it all the time to piss him off. Which I don't think it takes. I don't think it takes much to piss him off. So yeah,
my relationship with John Mellencamp goes back to 1985 when mid-show on two back-to-back nights in Market Square Arena in December, when they got mad at our former production manager at Sunshine Promotions and didn't want to work with him, and I was brought into the mix immediately, had no idea what I was getting into, but as much as I love John, and his father and I are close friends. His father is I need a dad father, quite frankly, and Richard will celebrate his 94th birthday on June 3rd. Just let that one sink in for a second. But I also knew, never piss off John. Don't talk to John unless John talks to you. And if John talks to you, answer him with simple, quick words.
And I got to run here, Steve, but we got to loosen that. It doesn't need to be that tied up and tight. You know what I mean? He's accomplished too much,
brother.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
I mean, if I ever do that, man, somebody can just whip my ass. Seriously. I mean,
I don't want that to happen.
We got to loosen that. We got to loosen the dude up a little bit here. Hey, Steve, I got to run.
Brother.
You call anytime, Steve. Right back at you. Steve Girardi is legendary around here. Yeah, just get loosened up a little bit. A little Pepto, a little KO, anything like that to loosen you up just a little bit. You don't need to be wound up that damn tight. Final thoughts coming up. Don't go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Well, shout out to Tony Ridge, your Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. Matthew Poole was the winner, the horse. J.K. Dewitt, $5.20 on a $2 bet. $2 exacta payout, $25.60. The 50-cent trifecta, $11.20. So Matthew Poole, we do this Wednesday through Friday, the Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. 50 in betting and 50 in dining. Is that Key West Mezzadidro that guy talked about? What's it called? Mezzaditto or what?
Key West Intermezzo?
Intermezzo? I said Mezzaditto. That's not right. Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson, they have standardbred horse racing now through November. Tony Renz, thank you very much. I love when you guys get on board and play, and I love to get a winner because it is an absolute blast up there. 50 in betting, 50 in dining. Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. We shall do it again tomorrow. 30 years ago today, it was Tree Rollins going for the pump fake. Do you know what I'm talking about? Tree Rollins goes for the pump fake. Rick Smits hits a game winner off the inbound pass from Derek McKee. It was the Pacers over Orlando in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Again, 30 years ago today. 239-1070 is that number. Let's get Bill on board here on line 4. Hello, Billy.
Hey, JMV, I know you're up against it and everything. I just want to say that we have not seen the best of Obi Toppin, and even though he's hit some clutch shots, obviously, and T.J. McConnell.
And Nemhard was 1 of 9 the other night, so big bounce back opportunity tonight.
Exactly right, and also I'm going to be anxious to see how well Towns can move laterally. I think Miles Turner is going to be open all night long, and we all know what Miles can do when he gets hot.
Billy, thank you very much, my brother. Enjoy the game. I tell you what, everybody that was on hold, I'll get you tomorrow because you hear the music. I got to run. And Jennifer, you're right. 30 years ago today, Smits happened. Indeed. Jake's going to be at Britain Tavern today, right? Britain Tavern with Michelob Ultra Zero for a Pacers watch party. As you can tell right here, I'm rocking because I'm a member of the company, Quarian Company, the Rheingeist T-shirt in honor of Jake. Mick Ultra Zero, Britain Tavern on a Thursday night. Have one hell of a party with Jake later on tonight. Check out the Pacers and the Knicks. 8 o'clock tip time, 7:30 coverage here on The Fan. Full recap tomorrow beginning at 3. You will not want to miss a second. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Go Pacers.